Pierce, the Champions League dream is over.
Yeah.
There's always next season,
Funny.
hopefully, as long as you finish top five. But
Next,
There's always next season.
but do you
There's,
know, and it's a tough question to ask, and the other two will jump here and probably argue with you. But does it show progression with
well, yeah, we got,
Arsenal?
to the
The
we got
last
to the
season
quarters
was
last season, and we got to the semis this season. So I
but
don't know how you can call it
is
anything else.
being but
I think it does. Look.
does
And look, all things considered, and I don't want to harp on about our squad and injuries and stuff, but we've had worse injuries than anyone else in the league. We haven't had a striker. We've had to play a central.
No, I'm not having the striker shit. The strikers shit on you guys.
It is,
right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, but
That's 100% on you guys.
You're talking about-
You don't even have an out-and-out striker. Jesus isn't really an out-and-out nine.
no, he wears
Havertz
number
is an
9
out-and-out
on his
nine.
back. Like he was our
Okay,
striker.
no.
Yeah, so
So
did Khaled
what?
Boularus,
Havertz has
mate.
been playing. Look, whatever you want to say, our quality of striker, or whether we should have added more, that's redundant. Whether we had 3 or 2 is not the question. The question is, did we have any? And the answer is no. We had 0. We didn't have a striker, and we got to the semi-final. So
Listen to me, Bear Grylls. Listen, you didn't you didn't have a striker, and it was on you. You should have, but to your point, the number of injuries you had was ridiculous. The fact that you got to the semis, I think what happened with Arsenal.
Was it ridiculous?
yeah,
Yeah.
have a
No,
look.
Was it? They're missing
think
one. They're missing one player in the semi-final.
Key
I mean, two, if
no,
you could.
throughout the season to still get to the semi
Yeah.
was an achievement. Not
But the stage where
semi-final.
they had most of their injuries, Champions League football wasn't even being played, right? And they didn't actually play anyone and play anyone difficult until, as in the knockout stages. In the knockout stage, they had all their players back, bar Havertz and Jesus.
No,
You were talking
I
about
think
missing
you're being-
Nicholas Jackson.
I
Do
think-
you know what I mean?
I
Like
think
we
you're
had
being
0
anal.
strikers.
I think you're being anal. What it is, they need the players through the season to get the flow right. You don't just get your
Well,
injured players back a
Odegaard
couple of games.
Odegaard was out for like.
Not gonna lie, you put
Yeah,
Havertz in that
Saka
game,
was out
the
for
result
4
doesn't
months.
change.
Look, I'm not.
The
trying
result
to,
doesn't change if Havertz plays that.
If you were in the semi-finals of the Champions League with no striker and Caicedo was your number 9, I think you'd mention it. You would, wouldn't you? It would be a talking point. You would mention it.
Yeah,
Pierce, I'm with you. I'm with you. On
you
this
would
one.
you would mention it, yeah, but I don't think that's not why you've lost this game. You've lost this game because
No,
PSG are a better
I'm-
team.
Yeah. PSG are a very good team, but what I'm saying is we might have had a better chance to qualify or to get through to the final had we had both our strikers fit or one.
We'll
of them
never
fit.
know.
Might have done.
We'll never
We'll
know.
never know.
What I'm saying is, I agree. You're right. We should have signed a prolific fox in the box in the summer. We didn't, or in January we didn't. And then both the only 2 strikers available in the squad got season-ending injuries. So that is.
But you look at PSG; they don't have an out-and-out 9, and they score plenty of
Yeah,
goals.
but different teams play different ways. Or I think you're being overly anal.
Okay, but I'm saying
They've
Arteta should
They've
have
gone out
done.
and signed their.
He
They've gone out and
played
signed their
Ranieri
£100
for
million
he played Ranieri for
full
5
back.
minutes in the Champions League semi-finals. Ranieri's been one of your biggest goal
They would-
threats this season. Surely you have a little shuffle and give Ranieri a go instead of playing a CDM at top.
We shuffled him in at 17 years old because Saka had to have surgery. So
Yamal's 17. He's the best player in the world. Age is is honestly just a number.
Yeah,
in
but I
football
mean,
these
like,
days.
hope you don't-
Ranieri's good enough to have had more
Well,
minutes.
look,
than
yeah,
5.
give him a run out, but I don't think
Unless you're dating.
giving him 20 minutes was going to mean we get to the final. Do you know what I mean? I agree, give him longer. Like in the first leg against PSG, they ran him out for about, I think he came on the 89th minute, and Odegaard was stinking the gaff out. So I do agree, but I just think it. Look, but the thing is with Arsenal, the message is always either. Like you can either be winners and the best team of all time, or you're bottle jobs and Arteta's shit. Like Arteta either needs to get sacked or get knighted. Like that seems there's no nuance. There's no like, okay, well, can we not scratch beneath the surface a little bit?
Yes,
Okay.
I don't think
Yes,
any rational fan saying he
I
should be
agree.
sacked.
I accept that, but it has been 5 years of not a single trophy, right? Not a single trophy. So the point is, I'm not going to bring any other club into it, but he needs to win some silverware somewhere.
He has
Just
won
to
the
get
FA
that-
Cup.
But, so
just to
does
get
the,
that
does the
mentality.
but we're
right?
competing for the big ones, right? So I know like Ten Hag won a League Cup and that kind of bought him another year. And I know you've won an FA Cup and that sort of appeases the fans a little bit. But we're fighting for the league title and the Champions League. So fine, there's not a League Cup to sort of tick us over in there, but I don't really give a fuck.
No,
I think the issue,
but you're at the semi-final, right? Against Newcastle, you're at the semi-final. It's like one more game. It's not going to move the needle that much. All I'm saying is with a lot of clubs, just to get that first trophy, it changes their mentality. It doesn't matter which trophy it is.
He won the FA Cup when he first came in.
You know, but like 5 years, it's you know.
I think the issue fans have with Arsenal is it's all. I just don't feel like Arsenal fans and Arsenal as a club ever. It's like Arteta coming out saying they're the best team in the tournament. They don't take accountability for the fact they've been beaten by a better team and perhaps they've made mistakes along the way, such as not signing 9 in the summer. Okay, that's one thing. But then getting to January and still deciding you don't need a 9 is it's madness. It's just
I mean, look, looking back in retrospect, we should have fucking signed the number 9, but we didn't. Do you know what I mean?
George, at that point, Kai Havertz was scoring for them.
He was already dropping off a bit. He'd had his purple patch.
But Kylian, at that point, Jesus was already out. So you can look at it both ways. Yeah, we can say hindsight, but everybody knew at that stage they needed a striker, and you couldn't rely on Havertz to see out to the end. Whatever people's thoughts of him as a player or whatever, there was that concern of you've only got one guy at that point. You needed a backup.
And there's questions about that guy as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's questions
externally, but I really like Havertz.
Yeah, but this is another. This is another thing. Like, you can like your players and admit you need better ones.
Yeah.
I like all the Chelsea players, but we still need to play.
We need to throw the kitchen sink. Look, if you look at our recruitment over the last few years, we've invested heavily in defence. We bought 2 first-choice keepers in Ramsdale and then Raya. We've bought in some very expensive defenders, and we've now got one of the best defences in the league, maybe in the world, when they're all fit. We've invested heavily in midfield, and now the forward line is the sort of last bit. Hold on. If you look at our front line, Saka, academy player, Martinelli cost us about 5 million quid. We invested a bit in Havertz. Wanyeri's an academy product, and Sterling's on loan. So I'm not. It seems to be everyone else that's really stressed out. Why haven't they bought a striker? This summer, we will invest heavily in our front line, and next season we will be better than we were this season.
Next season, there it is. Season.
Magic words.
Yeah,
I hope you are. Yes, I hope you are. I genuinely.
You don't. You're going to be shitting yourself when we sign an £80 million striker and a £60 million winger, and we win the league. You'll all be fucking shitting your nappies.
Hey, if Liverpool City don't win it, I'm glad you guys win it. As long as you guys win it and they don't, I don't care. Because we're nowhere near winning it, right? So we're nowhere, like, if we get
especially when Saudi come in and buy Bruno for 100 million quid.
Well,
but what happens if Real come in and buy Saliba? Then you'll have to address that issue. Saliba's got what, 1 year left on his deal?
Gabriel, no, he's got 2 years left. Gabriel's our best defender, so as long as we keep him.
Anyway, that's enough.
So you reckon if Saliba went, it wouldn't be an issue?
Well, we either need to sell him this summer or sign him up for a longer deal. We can't let him get to a year left. So he either needs to sign or we get 100 million for him this summer.
I agree.
Would you sell him if they came in 100 mil bidding?
If he doesn't want to sign a contract extension, then yeah.
Is it true? Is that because there's rumours that's the case, right? He's not signing one at the minute.
It could just be virgins on Twitter. It could be legit. I think there's probably loads of tapping up that gets done behind the scenes.
Of course there is.
And it's Real Madrid, isn't it? Real Madrid, they say.
I won't be like these Scousers burning shirts. That is embarrassing.
He's won them everything. He's done so much for the club.
He won them everything. It's a team effort, but God, calm down on it. Just let him go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look, I would like. What I would really like.
Obviously, Real Madrid have come and gone. We'll take him now for €1 million, 850 grand, just to see him out.
That's a slap, though. That's cheeky, right?
And they'll pay his wages. From a Liverpool point of view, you know he's going
to... Real Madrid have said that?
Yeah. Take him for the World Cup.
They want him in early, so...
Surely they don't want 2 Premier League defenders in the same summer. They don't need that, do they?
They're getting one for free.
are we even going to talk about the Inter Barca? I mean, the greatest semi-final.
Oh, what a game!
Absolutely amazing.
I mean,
yeah.
Honestly, watching that game as a United fan, I was watching a different sport, right?
Yeah.
It was a completely different sport. And next year, I think if we make it to Champions League, we get either of those, they're going to have to abandon the match for mental health reasons, and Man United players will need therapy. What a game. What a game. Yeah. And Yamal, talking about 17-year-olds and all that, what a player. Like, what a joy to watch.
He's a freak, isn't he? It's not normal.
It feels like there's a generation of young players coming through who, hopefully, because I feel like we've lost them a little bit, are going to be entertainers, and they're flary, they're skillful. You've got Yamal, you've got Doué. I think Palmer's got a little bit of that.
Williams.
Yeah, you've got Williams. I think you've got players that
Lewis Skelly.
They'll beat him, man. They're exciting. It's different. Lewis Skelly's class. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, he's not an he does. He picks the ball up and he takes some risks. He turns. He runs.
Okay, but he's a left back. Nwaneri, I'd say he's in that bracket. He beats a man. He's exciting.
I'd put the legend Anthony into that bracket as well.
Oh yeah, of course.
Smashing it.
I mean, he's carried his team through to the Conference League final, hasn't he? But it does fit. Like just watching.
I know what you mean.
PSG
they're not getting overcoached. Like
yeah.
I totally agree. There's some players who.
The worrying thing is, will they burn out too early?
Even if we get 8 years of them all being incredible, I don't care. Like if Yamal burns out in 8 years' time, he'll be 25. Like, I mean, how mad's that? Yamal could be. 8 years' time, he's going to be 25. He'll probably be in the peak. Like, how good is this kid going to get?
He still looks like a boy, doesn't he? Like, he hasn't built that, but he's that good. Like, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Brilliant. Like,
he's out there just to have fun, right? But actually taking on professional footballers who've been there for years and they're not there. It's a joke.
I'd go as far as saying he's so refreshing to watch him play, like since a young Messi or whatever. I'm not comparing him to Messi, but what I am saying...
Well, that's the comparison.
We've had years of flipping square passes and teamwork to death, right? We need some individual creativity, and this guy's got it in abundance. And that Nico Williams, if like Arsenal get him, that guy is a top player. There's some real young... Exactly what you said. There's some young talent that guy at Goulart at Madrid, and there's some real talent.
Yeah.
And this game, honestly, it was like a Rocky movie. Both of them, it's like Apollo 1, Rocky 1 and Rocky 2. Like, they're just going at it. And what a game!
The final was going to be fascinating because, I mean, Inter, you thought were a team that were based on solid defence. These two games against Barca have completely thrown that out the window. PSG aren't that solid defensively. I think Arsenal showed that. I know they didn't score many goals in the tie, but they could have had a few more goals. But it's going to be a hell of a game to watch. And I can't hope PSG do it personally, but I think
PSG will do it. I think PSG will do it because of simple point, and I'm going to bring Arsenal into it. The way Arsenal, let's say fans or whatever, the way the reaction was post-Arsenal was post-Arsenal beating Real Madrid. I'm not saying you, Piers, but it was all crazy over the top. And I think it got through to the team that, it's almost like it's our year, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I think Inter have that sort of feel about them. And there's just something, it's happened in the past when Roma beat Barca, and it's happened a number of times. United beat PSG, they were getting carried away, blah, blah, blah. It's happened over time where inferior teams, they have this good, amazing game, and they get nosebleeds. And I just think PSG, with their creativity...
I don't know, there's some veterans in that Inter Milan team, and I think they're a tougher team than Arsenal in the sense, you know what I mean? They've got
mentality-wise, you mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think they know
more ready to win it than Arsenal, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it will be going to their head. I think they're more professional.
Yeah, it's more likely to get to PSG's head.
Yeah, more gritty, I think, than Arsenal are. So I think
PSG the better team, but
I think PSG.
I agree with you there.
Just to give you a boring stat, 21 years since a German, Spanish, or English team haven't been in the European Cup final.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's good stuff.
Like the top 3 leagues, as they'd say, it's the first time. And I think that's refreshing. But I'd want Inter to win it just because of what PSG represent, to be honest. But, I mean, to watch.
But do you think this PSG team represents that?
And I like their manager as well.
I love their manager. Absolutely love him.
Yeah.
But
I think this PSG team, though, is completely different to the PSG teams with Mbappe, Neymar, Messi. Like, this is an actual team.
George, this PSG team over last is a lot better than the the league, Champions League, where Arsenal battered them.
Yeah, but it's like how many times in World Cups in the past? Probably you guys are young. But Germany used to be shocking in World Cup group stage. It said, get through. Everybody's writing them off. They're going to win it, right? Because they peak at the right time. So I think PSG are just peaking at the right time.
And PSG, it's a bunch of new players. Their team had changed completely. It was, Enrique was still putting his feel on the new players that came in. And since then, they've really kicked on. I think it was the back end of the group stages. They really kicked on a notch, and they've kind of gone on leaps and bounds from there.
Also,
they've beaten unbelievable teams as well.
Let's not forget, in January, they signed that Kvaratskhelia or whatever his name is in January. Yeah. So, I mean, they improved their team. That guy is incredible. I still can't believe more teams didn't go in for him. But that's a team that saw something in January, recognized it, addressed it, right? And what a signing! That
Arsenal left wing spot would have been perfect.
Well, he's made for us. Like he'd be brilliant at Arsenal. But PSG got him. They did the business, and I mean, there's something refreshing that all these young players are coming through, and they've changed their mentality. But still, if Man City all of a sudden started looking at all their youth players and just have a team full of, it'd still be built on this crappy, sugar daddy. So bollocks.
What team in the world the top teams isn't built like that? Everyone has to be funded. Everyone has to be funded.
We're built on debt. Arsenal, they earn their money. They like Arsenal, Spurs. They're built on their own.
No, I'm sorry. Arsenal went out and spent another 50 mil on a.
Do you know our owners? I think our owners are actually more wealthy than the PSG owners. I want to say
Arsenal spent and they don't sell particularly well. I know Nketiah was a very good sell, but in general they haven't sold.
We've sold sufficient for many years. When we moved into the Emirates, we basically got Barcelona to pay off our stadium. Like, do you know what I mean? We were a selling club, and Wenger did a good job of actually paying for it and balancing the books. Which, as a fan, you don't really give a fuck about. Like, I wouldn't care if the Kroenkes went into bankrupt themselves if we won it all. No, it's not my money, but
I don't give a fuck.
And I will say the mess that United are in shows demonstrates what a job Wenger did to keep them up there. Like while he was a selling club, I think it's pays respect to.
Well, he did say one day. He said one day that top 4 will be like a trophy, and everyone laughed at him, but he was bang on.
He was right.
Yeah, definitely.
But top 4 is like a trophy, but it's not a trophy.
Right, we'll finish it up.
Thank you very much, guys. Bye.
Europa